Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everybody, and thank you for inviting me. Dr. Imran, Principal, my faculty. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request everybody to pray for this country. I think we are passing through a very, very testing times and turmoil in this country. We do our professional job, keep on doing it very efficiently. But I think we must all pray, whatever we are, grace because of this country. May Almighty bless this country and help us in overcoming the. Ladies and gentlemen, I have chosen a little different topic. I think you have listened to very beautiful talks by the experts. But I'm going to talk on something bit different. Let me just have a little voice through the evolution of ethics, and then we'll talk about what exactly we are doing in this country. It's essentially derived from Greek word ethic, and which means habit, action, or character. And essentially it's a set of philosophical beliefs and practices concerned with distinction between right and wrong. And it's the branch of ethics that deals with moral issues and medical practice. According to the World Medical Association, it's the study of morality, careful and systematic reflection on analysis of moral decisions and behavior. And it encompasses its practical application in clinical settings as well as work on its history, philosophy, theology, sociology, and anthropology. And I think the code is different around based on religious beliefs. If you have a look at this history of development of medical ethics, the first such ethical code was developed 1900 years BC. And a system of payment based on results and ability to pay on the state of situations. I can't go into detail because my essential talk is on what we do in this country. But these old historical, and then the Islamic medical ethics came into being in several centuries. Based essentially on Quran and Sunnah, and Islam made it an obligation among the sick to seek treatment. Human life is sacred. Saving of one life is regarded as saving the life of the whole of humanity. And for every ailment except old age, there is a remedy. Actions were judged according to the intentions. And rulings exist for euthanasia, contraception, organ transplantation, and abortion. Then this Islamic oath was developed in an international conference on Islamic medicine in Kuwait in 1981. This is the one which we are following in this country. And then certain codes were developed like Nuremberg Code and Hippocratic Oath in 5th century BC. And this is one of the earliest documents of medical ethics. This is what is the original Hippocratic Oath, but it has been modified in the course of time. For example, Islamic Oath is also based on this Hippocratic Oath. And then there was a Geneva Declaration adopted the word General Assembly, and Declaration of Physicians' dedication to the humanitarian goals of medicine. then there was a Helsinki Declaration. And then in 2006, International Code of Medical Ethics was developed. And, in Japan and China, Buddhist physicians crafted 17 rulings of ancient and 6th century. And in China, in Ming Dynasty, 14th century ethical instruction for healers were discovered, which were similar to the Hippocratic Oath. Now, basically, it revolves around autonomy of the patient, beneficence, confidentiality, do no harm, non-maleficence, and equity or justice. Now, bioethics is another thing, but essentially is of American origin. Because this was basically a reactive response to biomedicine technology. And international bioethics began more than a decade after the birth of bioethics in the US. In 20th century, there have been numerous unethical, inhuman experiments performed on human test subjects in the United States. And that were often performed illegally without the knowledge of the patient or informed consent. And these experiments were funded by US government, by CIA, by military and private agencies. For example, mustard gas was tested on soldiers via inflammatory gas chambers. And CIA sprayed whooping cough virus on Tampa Bay, where 12 people died. And Navy sprayed bacterial pathogens of pneumonia in San Francisco. And Army released millions of mosquitoes in the hope that they would spread yellow fever and dengue fever upon Savannah. Then there was deliberate infection of people I'm sure you are all aware of, with deadly or debilitating diseases. Like Guatemalans were infected with syphilis. And then, although penicillin was available, but it was not given to those patients. And then surgical experiments in the middle of 19th century, by Marion Sims, who is often referred to as father of gynecology. They would perform on enslaved African women without anesthesia. One of the women was operated 30 times and died from infections subsequent. In 1874, an Irish servant woman came to of Lord's Martin Hospital in Cincinnati for treatment for cancer. And they would see a research opportunity and cut it open and insert a needle and God knows whatnot. Then, the psychological and torture experiments were carried out by CIA on prisoners and mentally retarded, exposing them to pain, fear, and sexual abuse. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what kind of practices are we doing in this country? Advertising, patient and copyrights, running an open shop, not endorse any items, rebates and commissions, and God knows I'll explain that. Now, what are we doing here in this country? I just divided it into, this is based on personal observations, by the way. Misuse of print media, electronic media, exaggerated psychologies, professional gimmicks, and social media. Now, what are we doing? self-advertisement through interviews, through news, foreign trip stories, unnecessary projection, and distribution of advertisement leaflets in a Sunday paper. A few years ago, this was sent to me by one of the doctors from, from the southern Punjab. And this is what we are doing. This was written from a Sunday paper. And I have delivered to you, which is the name of the consultant. But this is what we are doing. Now, you have small or full paper advertisements, repeated change of address, information to public regarding departure for Umrah, holiday or symposium, self-proclaimed representative of the country, or TV program comparing, buying time for medical program. You can do that these days. Must present oneself on all the functions and instructions to the camera for proper things. And the latest social media malady, I think it has really inflicted us very badly. Looks as if we are living in the social media. And the WhatsApp, the big people, they were the quiet persons who are supposed to put posts right in the morning. Praising a particular person, and if that's not done, they are taken to task. And we are always camera under, always camera under. And there are so many more things, I'm sure most of us are aware of it, but are not elaborated. Like exaggerated psychology. Somebody wrote a professor, and somebody asked him, what does a professor mean? He said, well, this means there are various categories of professors, and I'm an A category professor, and he was basically an assistant professor. I have seen motorway-like signs of doctors myself. Places like lampposts or railway stations, funny public advertisement, unbelievable prescription pads, that there is hardly anything to write the medicine. Then there are, I never allowed anybody who was at my training to appear in any substandard examination. Because I think that's what proves your personality if you are properly qualified. And membership of various societies, non-training international fellowships. Various fellowships, although it may be of few days, like fellowship in need. Do we need to put it on our papers? Society boards not mentioning the country, cover up degrees, self-proclamation of expertise in a particular field, then communications with the patient will frighten the hell out of the patient or their relatives, unindicated medicines, then different relations, patronizing friends and relations irrespective of their competence, and there are a lot of ulterior motives. I'm sure you all know. I have seen myself a CT scan for an ingrowing bone. How do you increase your clientele? Arrange dinners, dish out gifts, iftar parties, roze rakhte ho ya na rakhte. Personalized phone calls, greeting them on somebody's wife's birthday. And the other malady that we are observing is non-operating surgeries. You know, people have hired youngsters. They do all the surgical work, and the consultants don't do a damn thing. That's why every day you will notice that people coming to you with outside to see your office. Honestly, very unethical. Multiplication figure. 10 ऑपरेशन की और मैं 300 पे जाके presentation कराएंगे. With no complications. Fantastic results, but unprofitable. You know, bury the complications and avoid real explorations. That's what researchers do at times. You know, like first ever procedure performed in Pakistan. Every day you see, you know, somebody has performed the first ever procedure in Sahiwal or, you know, Miyawadi or whatever. X kilogram size tumor. Do we need to put it in the test? Sexual change procedures. Very common. Painless hemorrhoidectomy. Bloodless procedures, 2 minutes procedures. These are the exact things which I have picked up from, you know, the media. You know, I think it's an intellectual dishonesty. You know, if you are going to meet your son in the United States and you say you went and attended a conference and represented Pakistan. Oh, for God's sake, you are Iraqi. 75 years down the line, we have ruined this country, and I think medical profession has played their own part as well. You know, self-praise, megalomania, criticizing one's own colleagues, very unethical. वो कहते को चले गए सो, किन्हें पट्टा बिठा देता. These are the words which are used by people. For God's sake, we are supposed to take care. Even if there is a complication, there is a way to deal with it. You know, I go quite often to this healthcare mission, and most of these are, you know, the complaints which are being generated by the doctors. And I think impersonation is very, very common. Much more common in bigger cities than we think. You know, somebody, you know, using light. You know, the other day somebody came to us and said, when you started going to jail, I said, I don't even go now because of the motorway. For the last few years, he said, this is your name that you are operating in that hospital. Now, paper presentations, you know, cooked up figures. Work done by someone else. I have been editor of so many journals, and we get these complaints day in and day out. Aims and objectives of the study is self-protection. No complications. Results overwhelmingly advocating a particular drug or projective indulgence in discussions in conferences. You know, there are so many sad stories at this time. This new term called armchair writers. They are abundant in all the big cities, even smaller cities now. You pay 30,000, 40,000 rupees, you know, your dissertation or thesis is written. You don't even have to give the topic. They will do everything for you. And the other melody which has come over now is writing papers. They say it's our responsibility to have it published in a journal. Pharmaceutical accomplice. I will not dwell on that, honestly. We are all very well-to-do people, don't need these damn companies' facilities. Honestly, अगर मैं आपको सब कुछ बता दूं जो मैंने देखा हुआ है, आप उनके बाद हैं. Ranging from birthday parties to cars to whatnot. अब कल को पता नहीं शादी ब्याह में भी खर्चे करवा देंगे. And then these या मुझे तो कभी जरूरत नहीं पड़ी अपने नाम के साथ renowned surgeon लगाने की या physician. पहले renowned बनता है, फिर national figure बनता है, and then they become internationally famed personality. Yeah, who are we fooling? Only ourselves. Errors do occur. Let's say, like in the United States, 195 people die annually because of medical errors. The surgical complications are an integral part of surgery mind. They do occur in the best of circumstances and when least expected. And no surgeon is immune. Those who claim to have no complications, they have not done enough. Complications, refractory injuries, diathermy burns, rectal nerve injuries at the time of closure, carotid artery removal during periodectomy. I've seen all these complications by the way. You can have paramedical stuff, but mind you, the ultimate responsibility is that of surgeon. Wrong injections. I remember once I was examining in Karachi and a student nurse gave the patient intra-arterial injection of an analgesic, and it was actually a muscle relaxant. And I had to face inquiries for the next 2 years. And then there was a nitrogen site, some of you might remember in Mayo Hospital, mixing of cylinders. And 6 people died in one day. Some of you sitting here might remember that. You can have anesthetic disasters. I'll not go into details of that, but now how do we react to complications? Underscore the competence of the referring surgeon. खुदा के लिए हम सब शीशे के घरों में बैठे. Don't underscore or malign one of your own colleagues. Exaggerate the scope of a particular complication. Emphasize that the patient, you are now in the right place. And paint a totally black picture. At times, inside the patient, it's not at times, I think it happens very, very commonly. You incite the relatives, go against him, Iman said, these are the words which are used. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I think we need to revamp our training system according to our requirements. And there has to be commitment on the part of the trainer. I think it needs to be enhanced. Senior surgeon sitting here. All of us had the concept of the contact with your trainer or guru or whatever. Farooq Afzal was mentioned right to the grave. These days, nobody is involved. There are 50 trainees in one unit. How the hell can you remember the names of all? What to speak of imparting proper training? What I feel is
that we don't have the good role models of yesteryears. I sincerely hope that one day the remunerations will match the requirements and we will refrain from doing unethical practices. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for your